At my mother's funeral, I finally met the brother I never knew existed, and as he told his story I realized she had hidden him from our entire lives, leaving me with more questions than answers about the woman I thought I knew. The notification popped up while I was giving Mom's eulogy. I know. Who checks their phone during their own mother's funeral. But the speech was going on autopilot, all the rehearsed words about her kindness and devotion, and my hand just moved. Muscle memory from years of sneaking glances during important moments. The message was from Jenna, my coworker, the woman who'd been making my marriage feel like a prison sentence for the past 6 months. Thinking of you today. When you're ready to talk about us, I'm here. Quus. There it was. The word that had been dancing around the edges of every late night text, every evidential coffee meeting, every time she found an excuse to work late when I did. The word that made my stomach flip and my wedding ring feel like it weighed 1,000 pounds. I looked up from the phone to see 200 faces staring at me. My wife Sarah in the front row, holding her old daughter Emma's hand, both of them looking at me like I was their whole world. And all I could think about was Jenna's perfume. The way she laughed at my jokes, how she made me feel like I was 25 again instead of 38-year-old man whose biggest excitement was finding a good parking spot at Costco. Mom always said family was everything. I continued the eulogy, the words tasting like ash. She taught us that loyalty and honesty were the foundations of love, more lies. Because the truth was I'd been having an emotional affair for months. I'd been texting another woman, sharing things I should have been sharing with my wife. I'd been looking forward to work more than coming home. I'd been living a double life while my mother was dying of cancer. And now she was gone and I was standing here pretending to be the good son, the good father. After the service, people approached me with condolences. Each handshake felt like judgment. Each "I'm sorry for your loss" sounded like "I'm sorry you're such a disappointment." But then this man walked up to me, late 40s maybe early 50s. He had Mom's eyes, her nose, the same stubborn cowlick in his graying hair that I'd inherited. "Excuse me," he said quietly. "Are you Daniel Morrison?" "West. I'm Marcus." He looking uncomfortable. "I think I'm your brother." The funeral home lobby tilted. Sarah Piener me, sensing something was wrong. "I'm sorry," I said. "There must be some mistake. I don't have a brother." Marcus pulled out his phone, showed me a photo. It was my mother but younger, maybe in her early 20s. She was holding a baby, smiling that same smile I'd seen in 1,000 family photos. She was 17 when she had me. Marcus said, "Gave me up for adoption. I've been looking for her for 20 years. I found her obituary last week." Sarah's hand found mine but I barely felt it. Everything was spinning. "That's impossible. Mom would have told us. She wouldn't have kept something like that secret." But even as I said it, I knew it wasn't impossible. Mom had always been private about her past. She never talked about her teenage years, always changed the subject when we asked about life before Dad. "I have the adoption papers," Marcus continued. "Everything matches. Margaret Louise Morrison, born in 1965 in Cedar Rapids. That's your mother, right?" It was, down to the middle name we never used. "I'm not here to cause trouble," Marcus said quickly. I wanted to know about her. About our family. I've wondered my whole life." Sarah squeezed my hand tighter. Emma was tugging at my jacket, asking why everyone looked upset, and my phone was buzzing with another message from Jenna. In that moment, standing in the funeral home with a stranger who shared my DNA and my wife who deserved so much better than me and my daughter who trusted me, completely realized how thoroughly I'd been living a lie. Not just the affair, everything. The man I pretended to be, the son I thought I was, the understanding I had of my own family. All of it was built on secrets and assumptions and things left unsaid. I cleared my throat. "Can we talk somewhere?" We ended up at a diner near the cemetery. Marcus told us his story while Emma colored on her kids' menu and Sarah sat in stunned silence. He'd had a good life. Loving adoptive parents, successful career as a teacher, wife of 15 years, 2 kids in college. But he'd always wondered about his birth mother, always felt like there was a piece missing. "She wrote me a letter," he said, pulling out an envelope so worn the edges were soft as fabric. "The adoption agency gave it to me when I turned 18. I've read it probably 1,000 times. He handed it to me with shaking fingers. Mom's handwriting and shakier than I remembered, but definitely hers. "To my baby boy, I hope someday you'll understand why I had to do this. I'm 17 and alone and I don't know how to be anybody's mother yet. But I want you to know that I love you. I will always love you. And I hope that whoever raises you gives you everything I can't. Maybe when you're older, if you want to find me, I'll tell you about your family. About where you come from. I'll answer all your questions. Until then, know that you were loved from the moment I knew you existed. And that letting you go is the hardest thing I've ever done. Your mother, Margaret, was dated 3 months before I was born." I stared at the words, trying to process what this meant. Mom had been pregnant with me while grieving the loss of Marcus. She'd built our family while keeping this massive secret. "She never tried to contact you?" Sarah asked. Marcus shook his head. "I looked for her when I turned 18, then again when I got married, again when my kids were born. But she'd moved, changed her name when she married your father." The trail went cold. I thought about all the times Mom had talked about family being everything. All the lectures about honesty and communication. All the moments she'd seemed sad for no reason, staring out windows with that distant look. She'd been thinking about him. About the son she'd given away. About the choice she'd made and had to live with every day. "I'm sorry," I said finally. "I'm sorry she never reached out. I'm sorry you had to find out this." "Don't be sorry," Marcus said. "Great parents. I wanted to know about her. About all of you." Emma looked up from her coloring. "Are you really my uncle?" Marcus smiled, and it was like seeing my own smile on a stranger's face. "I guess I am." "Cool. I always want more family kids. They just accept things, roll with punches that would level adults." I envied her ability to find joy in this chaos. But as we talked more, as Marcus shared stories about his life and asked questions about ours, I felt something breaking apart inside me. Not just the shock of learning about him, but the realization of how little I actually knew about the people closest to me. Mom had carried this secret for 40 years. Never told Dad, never told me or my sister. She'd built her whole life around protecting this part of her past. And here I was, sitting there for my wife and daughter, carrying my own secret, planning my own betrayal. preparing to up everything they believed about our family, just like this moment was shattering everything I'd believed about mine. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was about to become the very thing I was judging my mother for being. Someone who kept devastating secrets from the people who loved them most. My phone buzzed again, Jenna's name on the screen. This time I turned it off. 3 weeks later I was standing in Jenna's apartment. I wish I could say I went there to end things. To tell her that meeting Marcus had shown me how destructive secrets could be, how they poisoned everything they touched. That burying my mother had made me realize how precious and fragile family really was. But I'd be lying, and I'm done lying, at least to myself. I went there because I was broken and confused and angry, and Jenna represented everything my life wasn't. She was excitement and possibility and freedom from the weight of being a husband and father, and son who just learned his entire understanding of his family was built on lies. The affair had been building for months. It started innocent enough, just workplace conversations that ran a little too long. Then texting about work stuff that gradually became personal. Then meeting for coffee to discuss projects that somehow turned into talking about our dreams and disappointments. Jenna was 28, single, no kids. She traveled, went to concerts, had opinions about art and politics and books I'd never heard of. When she looked at me, she didn't see a man who forgot to pick up dry cleaning and fell asleep during movies. She saw someone interesting. The emotional cheating was worse than anything physical could have been. For months I'd been sharing my thoughts and feelings with her instead of Sarah. When Emma did something funny, I texted Jenna about it first. When work stressed me out, I called Jenna for support. When mom was dying and I felt like I was drowning, Jenna was the one who listened. I'd made her my partner in everything except the legal sense, and Sarah had no idea. After the funeral, after meeting Marcus, after that night in the diner learning about decades of hidden truth, I should have gone home and wife and daughter closer. I should have realized that secrets that they rot families from the inside out. Instead I texted Jenna that I needed to see her. Her apartment was everything our house wasn't. Minimalist, organized, decorated like and lived there instead of a family with an 8-year-old who left art projects and stuffed animals everywhere. It smelled like expensive candles instead of whatever Emma had spilled on the carpet that week. "I'm glad you came," Jenna said, and before I could explain why I was there she kissed me. It wasn't our first kiss. That had happened 2 weeks before mom died in her car after we'd worked late again. But this was different. This was crossing a line I'd been dancing around for months. This was choosing her over them. We ended up on her couch, making out like teenagers while my wedding ring into my finger and my phone sat silent in my pocket. Sarah was probably putting Emma to bed, reading her the same story about the little bunny who couldn't sleep. They were living their normal Tuesday night while I was destroying their world 20 minutes away. "I've wanted this for so long," Jenna whispered, and I knew she meant more than just physical intimacy. She meant me choosing her. Me being willing to risk everything for her. But even as it was happening, all I could think about was Marcus. About the way he'd looked when he talked about always feeling like something was missing. About how he'd spent 40 years wondering about a mother who'd been too afraid or ashamed to reach out. About how Sarah was going to look when she found out. About how hurt when her world imploded. "Rit," I said, I can't do this." Jenna's face fell. "It's okay, we don't have to rush anything. We can take it slow and understand. I can't do any of this. I have a family. I have a daughter. I can't be the person who destroys that." I knew it as I said it. I knew it was too late. I'd already destroyed it. Maybe not in the way that would show up in divorce papers, but in every way that mattered. I'd been emotionally cheating for months. I'd been putting another woman's needs before my wife's. I'd been sharing intimacy with Jenna that I'd stopped sharing with Sarah. The physical line might still be mostly intact, but every other boundary had been obliterated. "You don't have to choose right now," Jenna said. "But you have to be honest about what you want. About what we have together." What we had together. The phrase nimisic because I knew exactly what we had. Something built on lies and betrayal and the slow erosion of my marriage. I left without doing anything we couldn't come back from, but the damage was done. Not just to my marriage but to my understanding of who I was. I'd spent weeks being angry at my mother for keeping secrets, for living a double life, for building our family on a foundation of hidden truth. And then I'd done exactly the same thing. When I got home Sarah was reading in bed. "How was work?" she asked without looking up. "Fine," I lied. She told me about her day, about Emma's science project and her sister's divorce drama. Normal married couple conversation. The kind of comfortable intimacy that develops over 12 years together. Except it wasn't intimate anymore. It was performance. I was nodding and responding while thinking about Jenna. About how different this felt from what we'd been having for months. "Daniel," Sarah put down her book. "Are you okay? You've seemed distant since the funeral." There it was, my opening. The chance to tell her about Marcus, about how learning about mom's secret had shaken me, about how I'd been struggling with questions of family and identity and truth. The chance to tell her about Jenna before it went any further. "I'm fine," I said. "Just processing everything. More lies. Always more lies." But the really sick part was that I wasn't just lying to protect her feelings. I was lying because I wasn't ready to give I had with Jenna. I wanted both lives. I wanted the stability and family and shared history with Sarah. And I wanted the excitement and possibility and escape with Jenna. I wanted to have my cake and eat it too, just like mom had wanted to keep her secret while building a family that believed in loyalty. That night, lying in bed next to my wife while she slept peacefully beside me, I understood something about my mother I'd never seen before. It wasn't that she'd been deliberately deceptive or manipulative. It's that once you start living a double life, it becomes incredibly hard to stop. Each day you don't confess makes confession harder. Each lie you tell makes the truth more dangerous. Each moment of normalcy you preserve by keeping the secret makes thought of destroying that normalcy more terrifying. Mom had probably told herself she'd tell us about Marcus someday. When we were older. When the time was right. When she could find the words. But someday never comes. There's never a right time to detonate your family's understanding of itself. Just like there was never going to be a right time for me to tell Sarah I'd been in love with another man for months. The next morning, Emma crawled into bed with us, chattering about her dreams and her plans for the day. Sarah made pancakes while I helped Emma get dressed for school. We looked like a perfect family having a perfect morning. And all I could think about was the text I'd gotten at 6 a.m. I understand you're scared, but what we have is worth fighting for. She was right, I was scared, terrified. But not of losing her. I was terrified of what would happen when Sarah and Emma found out who I really was. The truth came out on Emma's 9th birthday. Not because I confessed, not because I found the courage to do the right thing, because I was careless and thought I was smarter than I actually was. Emma's party was at our house. 20 kids running around the backyard, parents making small talk over cake and coffee, the kind of chaotic family celebration that should have been pure joy. I was taking pictures, playing the devoted dad role I'd perfected over the past few months. The man who coached soccer and helped with homework and never missed a bedtime story. The man who definitely wasn't carrying on an emotional affair with his coworker. My phone kept buzzing. Jen had been texting me all morning, upset that I'd been pulling away since that night at her apartment. She wanted to know where we stood. She wanted to know if I was choosing my family over her. The answer was complicated. I hadn't ended things with Jenna, but I hadn't moved forward either. I was stuck in this horrible limbo where I was betraying both women. Not giving Sarah the honesty she deserved, not giving Jenna the commitment she wanted. I thought I was managing both relationships, keeping everyone happy while I figured out what I really wanted. I was actually just making everything worse. And while Sarah was cutting cake and I was supposed to be helping serve it, I snuck into the bathroom to text Jenna back. Just to buy myself some peace for the rest of the day. Can't talk now. Family stuff, we'll figure this out later. Except I didn't hit send. I took a screenshot instead. I don't know why. Maybe to show her later, to prove I was thinking about her even during my daughter's birthday party. Maybe because I wanted to craft the perfect response that would keep her happy without making any real promises. It doesn't matter why. What matters is that I left my phone on the kitchen counter when I went back outside, and Emma's friend Madison grabbed it to take selfies. Kids do that now. They see a phone and immediately want to play with the camera. Usually it's harmless. Usually the phone doesn't contain months of romantic messages to someone who isn't your wife. Madison was scrolling through my photos, probably looking for funny ones of Emma, when she found the screenshot. Being 9 years old, she thought it was taken a picture of a text message. Mystery Morrison, why did you take a picture of this text about family stuff? She called out, holding up my phone for everyone to see. The entire backyard went quiet. Sarah looked over from where she was serving cake. So did 6 other parents. And there on my phone screen, visible to everyone, was my text to Jenna, with her name and our entire conversation thread right below it, including her message from that morning. I know this is hard, but I love you and I believe what we have is worth fighting for. Sarah's face went through about 5 different emotions in 3 seconds. Confusion, realization, anger, and then this terrible blank expression I'd never seen before. Madison, honey, give that back to Mr. Morrison, said her mother, clearly sensing drama but not understanding the full scope. But it was too late. Sarah had seen enough. The party continued around, nothing had happened, because most of the parents hadn't been close enough to read the screen. But Sarah knew, and I knew she knew. And Emma, sweet Emma, who just wanted everyone to have fun at her birthday party, kept asking why mommy looked upset and why daddy looked scared. We got through the next 3 hours, sang happy birthday, opened presents, said goodbye to guests. We performed normalcy while our marriage imploded in slow motion. After the last car pulled away, Sarah sent Emma to her room to play with her new toys. Then she turned to me with that same blank expression. Who is Jenna? Could have lied. Told her it was a misunderstanding, that Jenna was just a confused coworker, that the message meant something innocent. But I was so tired of lying. So exhausted from months of managing 2 relationships and keeping track of different versions of myself. She's someone I work with. I said, we've been texting. A lot. For months. This was it. The moment, where I had to decide how much truth I was ready to tell, how much damage I was willing to admit to. Everything, I said finally. Work stuff at first and personal stuff we've become. Sarah sat down heavily on the couch. Are you sleeping with her? No, we kissed once, that's all. Once, twice. But nothing else happened, nothing else. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Daniel, you've been having an emotional affair. You've been sharing our life, our marriage, our problems with another woman. You've been giving her the intimacy you stopped giving me months ago. She was right. Completely right. I'd been so focused on the physical line I hadn't crossed that I'd ignored all the other boundaries I'd all along. She'd asked. 6 months. Jesus Christ. She put her head in her hands. 7 months. You've been lying to me for 7 months. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just developed. It developed because you let it develop. Because you made choices every single day to pursue another woman instead of working on our marriage. From upstairs came the sound of Emma playing with her new dollhouse, creating happy little stories with her new toys. Completely unaware that her 1 floor below her. Does she know about Emma? Yes. And she's okay with being the other woman. She's okay with breaking up a family. I thought about all of Jenna's messages over the past weeks. How she talked about us having a real chance. If I was just brave enough to choose happiness. How she'd said she wasn't trying to break up my marriage, but that sometimes people grew apart and found better matches. She thinks we're not happy, I said quietly. She thinks you and I have grown apart. Have we? Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. That was the question I'd been avoiding for months. The real question underneath all the excitement and guilt and confusion. I don't know, I admitted. I don't know anything anymore. We talked until 2 a.m. Sarah asked questions I didn't want to answer. I tried to explain feelings I didn't fully understand. We both cried. We both said things we'd regret later. But the worst part was watching Sarah realize how thoroughly I'd betrayed her trust. Not just with the emotional affair but with months of lies about working late, about why I was on my phone so much, about why I'd been distant and distracted. I feel like I know you, she said finally. Like the man I married, the father of my child, has been replaced by a stranger. I'm still me. No, you're not. The man I married wouldn't do this to our family. He wouldn't risk Emma's stability for some fantasy with a coworker. He wouldn't lie to my face every day for Seven's right again. I wasn't the same man she'd married. I wasn't even the same man who'd buried his mother 3 months ago. I'd become someone I didn't recognize, someone who could compartmentalize and rationalize and justify almost anything, someone who could kiss another woman while wearing his wedding ring and somehow not see it as a complete betrayal of everything he claimed to believe in. I want you to leave, Sarah said. Tonight, I need time to think, and I can't do that with you here. Or go to your sister's, go to a hotel. I don't care, but I can't look at you right now. I packed a bag while she sat in the living room, still in the same spot on the couch. Still wearing the birthday party outfit she'd picked out that morning when our biggest worry was whether we'd ordered enough pizza. Emma came downstairs as I was carrying my suitcase to the car. Where are you going, Daddy? I knelt down to her level trying to figure out how to explain something I didn't understand myself. Mummy and Daddy need some time apart to work on some grown-up problems, I said. But it has nothing to do with you, okay? We both love you so much. Are you getting divorced like Madison's parents? The question hit like a physical. This sweet innocent 9-year-old who'd spent the day celebrating her birthday was now wondering if her family was about to explode. I don't know, sweetheart. We're gonna try to work things out. But even as I said it, I knew it probably wasn't true. The look in Sarah's eyes wasn't the look of someone planning to forgive. It was the look of someone calculating how to rebuild her life without me in it. I stayed at a hotel that first night, staring at the ceiling and thinking about Marcus. About how he'd spent his whole life wondering about the family he'd never known, while I'd spent 7 months actively destroying the family I had. The next morning I texted both women. To Sarah, I'm sorry. I know that's not enough, but I'm sorry for everything. To Jenna, it's over. Don't contact me again. Sarah didn't respond. Jenna sent 17 messages before noon ranging from confused to angry to pleading. I deleted them all without reading most of them. That afternoon I drove to the cemetery where Mom was buried, sat by grave and finally understood why she'd never told us about Marcus. It wasn't just shame or fear. It was the knowledge that some secrets once revealed change everything forever. That some truths are nuclear weapons that destroy entire worlds. She'd protected our understanding of our family the only way she knew how, by carrying the weight of her secret alone. But I hadn't been that strong. I'd let my secret everything it touched. I'd let it turn me into someone I hated. Someone who could betray him, who trusted him most. 2 weeks later, Sarah filed for divorce. Emma asks me every time I see her when I'm coming home, and every time I have to tell her I'm not. Because some choices can't be undone and some trust can't be rebuilt, and some families can't survive the weight of secrets and lies and selfish decisions made by people who thought they were smarter than the consequences. My mother kept her secret to protect us. I kept mine to protect myself. The difference cost me everything that mattered. Now Emma will grow up in a broken home, splitting time between parents who can barely look at each other, because her father thought he deserved more than the life he'd built. I finally understand what my mother's letter to Marcus meant when she wrote about love not being enough. Sometimes the people who love you most are the ones you end up worst of all, and sometimes the family you destroy is the only one you ever get.